boys, we have spooky, scary content to get to today. Spooky, scary. Today is Terror Tuesday, which is technically mostly Ghostly Monday, but on Tuesday instead. If you guys have any scary stories or videos you would like to share with the class, join my Discord, post it to the Mostly Ghostly Monday category on Discord, and we will look at your little stinky video, little stinky baby stinky video, or stinky story. And you can even write your own stinky stories. Ask ChatGPT to write a scary story. Can I do that? I never used ChatGPT. So send a message. Okay. So what do I tell this guy? Write a scary story, please. Oh, dude, no fucking shot. It's actually right. Dude, okay, this is actually dope. What the fuck? Oh my god, when will it stop? Okay, I'm gonna read this to you real fast. We'll start off with this ChatGPT story. This could be absolute dog shit because it's ChatGPT. But let's find out, I guess. Infinite scary story. Yeah, pretty much. Once upon a time, there was a small town in the middle of nowhere. It was a peaceful place with friendly people and lush greenery. But as soon as the sun set, things started to get eerie. One night, a group of teenagers decided to explore the abandoned mansion on the outskirts of the town. The mansion was known to be haunted and had been deserted for years. The group made their way through the overgrown garden and entered the house. As they walked through the dusty rooms, they heard strange noises and saw shadows moving the corners of their eyes. The atmosphere was unsettling, and the air felt thick with the sense of dread. Suddenly, they heard a loud bang from upstairs. One of the teenagers decided to investigate, and as he climbed the stairs, the others followed. When they reached the top of the stairs, they saw a figure in the darkness. It was a ghostly figure with eyes that seemed to glow in the dark. The group froze in fear as the figure approached them, its hand outstretched. The ghostly figure spoke. "Leave this place or suffer the same fate as I did." The teenagers ran for their lives, not looking back until they were safely outside. As they caught their breath, they noticed that one of their friends was missing. They searched the grounds but found no trace of him. Years went by, and the abandoned mansion remained empty, but strange things continued to happen in the town. People reported seeing a ghostly figure walking in the streets at night, its eyes glowing in the dark. One night, a young couple was out for a walk when they saw the ghostly figure up ahead. The man bravely approached it, hoping to get a closer look. But as he got closer, he realized the figure was his long-lost friend. The ghostly figure spoke once more. "You did not heed my warning. Now you will suffer the same fate as I did." The man was never seen again, and the ghostly figure continued to haunt the town for generations to come. The people of the town never forgot the warning of the ghostly figure, and they always made sure to steer clear of the abandoned mansion and the haunted streets. That's better than anything I could have written! That was like surprisingly good. All right. Bark Muffalo is one of our lovely friends in chat. I've known him for like 4 years now. He's been part of the community for a long fucking time. Almost every Mostly Ghostly Monday or Terror Tuesday we've had, every time we do a spooky day, he always has more stories that he wants to share with us. Stuff that he's written himself. So we're going to go ahead and dive into one of them. This one's called 1 Hour. Trigger warning, unalive dog. Fair enough. Thank you. Appreciate it. Makes me a little sad, but we're okay with it. Mom always told me that if people knew what I could do, they would burn me alive and toss me in the river. She always did have a way with broad exaggerations, but as much as I hate to admit it, Mom had a point. She was the first and only person I ever told. When I was 6 years old, our dog Jasper was playing out in the front yard. The only thing he loved more than rolling in the tall grass was digging underneath our property fence. One morning, he escaped and ran out into the road before either of us could stop him. Before we knew what was happening, a pickup truck came speeding down the road. All we heard was a loud horn and then a sickening crunch that preceded it. Our poor Jasper, his skull flattened between a mass of asphalt and rubber, and shrieks of panic silenced within an instant. I was devastated. We buried him in the backyard that afternoon. Well, what was left of him. We couldn't exactly pick up all the pieces out of the street. That night, I had the most vivid and unusual dream of my entire life. I was swimming in this black void of darkness, or rather floating, more like it. I couldn't see or hear anything, yet I felt these unmistakable vibrations against my skin. I remember goosebumps running along my forearms as the tiny hairs on my body stood upright. I don't know how, but I got this strange sensation that something else was in this void with me. Something big, bigger than big. I remember wondering if this is what ants felt like, being in the presence of something they could never hope to understand. And then it whispered to me, not from any particular direction though. The guttural sounds and hissing gurgles swirled inside and through my ears, seemingly existing both in and out of my thoughts simultaneously. These sounds weren't words, but somehow I could understand them. Although I could never begin to translate what this ethereal gibberish meant, I could grasp vague, awkward impressions. The hiss from the void seemed to call out to me, repeat ominous tones of sinister gurgles that I think it called the old tongue. It was one of the few phrases I could barely conceive, yet the sourceless instruction continued, adamant on whispering the secrets of the old tongue. Whatever language this void spoke bore no relevance in my country, nor anywhere by the sounds of it. Strange vibrations and shriekings, the likes of which I was certain could not be produced by no living thing with an intact trachea or sanity, for that matter, erupted from the darkness around me. And suddenly I awoke in my bed. Beads of sweat drenched my pajamas and my pillow. My hand shook with such violent tremors that I took to biting my fists to hopefully keep them still. That dream, with its vivid indoctrination of otherworldly linguistics, shook me to my wits' end. Suddenly, an intrusive thought began to pull at the thin fiber sinew strewn about my subconscious. In that cognitive space where abstract notions became thoughts and those thoughts became actions, an irresistible urge was born, one that I couldn't bring myself to argue with. I seemed to know exactly what this voice wanted me to do because it was something I had wanted to do already. As the rain bombarded our backyard in a relentless downpour, I trudged through the tall grass, still in my sweat-drenched pajamas, and fumbled my way over to the fresh pile of misplaced dirt. Falling to my knees, I began crawling through the soil, ignoring the bits of rock and dirt that collected beneath my fingernails. And then I found him. Jasper. He looked even worse than he had that morning. The worms had wasted no time in nestling themselves into his empty eye sockets. I leaned in close to my dearest companion and whispered the secrets of the old tongue into what was once his ear. Just then, a violent thrash of lightning cracked across the night sky. I had never seen in my entire life such a manic and hysterical look of horror on my mom's face until she woke up the following morning. She walked downstairs to find me nestled on the living room couch with our dog Jasper, affectionately licking my face. Upon seeing her, Jasper bounced off the sofa and rushed towards Mom. All the while, she shrieked until her face had nearly turned blue. Whatever magic brought Jasper back from the black, ethereal void was unable to reassemble his skull. He bounced across the living room, his fur matted with thick pools of blood and chipped pieces of his shattered skull dribbling out of what is once his mouth. Jasper also had a funny way of walking now. The rigor mortis had seemingly already taken hold, causing his legs to stiffen and creak with each motion. Despite this all, Jasper seemed as happy as ever. I'd assumed Mom would be happy to see him again, but we had to put Jasper to rest a second time. Mom told me what had happened to him was an unnatural, unholy... What had happened to him was unnatural, unholy even. When I told her about the voice in the abyss, she made me promise to never repeat what I had done to Jasper. She said the darkest, vilest place in hell was reserved for those who dwell in witchcraft. I didn't fully understand back then, but I had never seen such an unbridled fear in Mom's eyes before. I remember looking down and seeing her hands, now having lost all of their color, shake violently in the early morning gust. I promised her I would never bring Jasper back again, that I would ignore the whispery notions sent to me by the thing in the abyss. Mom then thought for a moment, a good long moment. She let the silence of the early morning fester in the air while she collected her thoughts. I also noticed the edges of her lips twitching ever so slightly. She leaned in again and told me to make one more promise, one that stuck with me to this very day. She whispered, "If anything ever happens to me, do not bring me back." That was 10 years ago. I made that promise to my mom long before we moved out of that house where Jasper was buried, long before we moved to the East Coast, and long before she got sick. Cancer. It wasn't pretty. Mom didn't even have the luxury of going out in a big, fanciful explosion. No, her death was slow, methodical, and cruel. First, it took her long, flowing brown hair, then it mangled her body and bones until she could only exist in a hospital bed. After a year of barely clinging to this mortal coil from the tips of her fingernails, death finally took her in her sleep. 1 hour ago. She's only been dead for an hour. Rustic gears of sinister intention begins to turn in the deep recesses of my mind. I feel my hands once again begin to shake in a way that they haven't done in quite some time. An alluring voice seems to call out for me from the space between spaces, that unknowable black void where Jasper now lived. The soft beckoning whispers tickled at the back of my brain. I know what I promised. But she couldn't have predicted this, could she? Surely, had Mom known that this is how she'd leave this earth, she wouldn't want that for herself. She would miss my high school graduation. My wedding, wouldn't meet her future grandchildren. I assure myself that can't be right. In no just world could this be what my mom would have wanted. No fair and just God would take my mother from me, not like this. Maybe he lacked the power to bring her back, but I don't. With tears streaming down my face, I hug the now cold, lifeless body of my once vibrant mother, her charismatic aura now gone into the ether along with the rest of her. I lean in close to her ear and I whisper the secrets of the old tongue into her lifeless body. With Jasper, I had to wait until morning for him to reawaken from the soil. But for Mom, it was different. Her eyes don't open at first, but when I see her brittle fingers begin to twitch, I know that I had whispered correctly. Then, her chest begins to rumble and jerk as her lungs awake from their slumber. When her eyes open, however, I instantly recognize that something isn't right. The eyes that look back at me are not my mother's. Her eyes had become shriveled and gray with rims of blood pooling around her sunken eye sockets. Her beady, unflinching eyes darting around the room like a rabid, starved animal. She doesn't even seem to recognize her only daughter. Her breathing becomes pained, frantic even. She begins frothing at the mouth. Just as I consider calming her down and easing her into life again, she stretches open her mouth far wider than I could ever thought possible, and produces the most ungodly scream I could ever imagine. Wails and bellows previously unknown to human ears echo down the halls of the hospital wing. My mother screams with the tenacity of someone burning alive, or a colonial fur trader being scalped, or a factory worker getting caught in a meat grinder. So many horrific images worm their way into my mind as my mother shrieks cold, dead, bloody murder. She forms no words nor indicates any meaningful way of what she wants or what she's thinking. She screeches in unbearable agony as if the fires of hell itself are erupting from her lungs. Her veins begin to protrude from her neck before taking on a sickening shade of black. Just then, a team of nurses burst into the room and restrain her, dumbfounded by her sudden gift of life. It takes a team of 6 nurses to hold her down while she violently flails about and screams her deafening symphony. Eventually, they are able to subdue her, and one brave male nurse sedates her, only for her to flatline once again. I have since decided to heed my mother's warning and not try to bring people back from the ethereal void of the space between spaces. The implications of my mother's return to life continue to haunt my dreams in ways I never could have prepared for. I find myself asking questions whose answers may terrify more than they may soothe. What did my mother see in the 1 hour she was gone? What was that really her that I had brought back? Or if it wasn't, then what did I conjure from the other side? The most disturbing question I'm left with, however, is what awaits me when it's my time to join my mother in the daunting space of everlasting darkness. For all I know, she's still there, shrieking unbridled terror and insatiable insanity. Is that what awaits everyone? Was Mother wrong when she said the vilest, blackest pit of hell was reserved for those who dwell in witchcraft? Does the void discriminate? Or does it swallow everyone all the same? I suppose I'll never know until it's too late. For the rest of my life, I'll always remember the maddening, shrieking form of my resurrected mother and wonder what horrific agony she found in that 1 hour of death. Whatever she found, I hope she's gotten used to it by now. Because she's not ever leaving it. Jesus fucking Christ! Okay, ow, God, fuck, I should have done that. Okay, God damn, bro. God, that was so... Man, fuck, bro. God, Jesus, heavy. That was so heavy. God, I wasn't ready for the heavy though. I should have pulled out when it was unalive dog at first. I should have, but I was committed. Sorry, I should have warned it was on the heavy side. That's okay. You tried. You did your best. Give me Pet Cemetery vibes. I liked it a lot. I did too. It was really, really good. It's just sad because obviously as a person who owns dogs and just stuff happening personally and everything, it's just like that shit sucks to hear. And then also like the stuff with the mom, it's like, oh my God, I